محمد وآل محمد. It's the night of the 10th Ashura, Laylatul Ashura. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب الشاكرين. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام. الحمد لله على نعمة الإيمان. الحمد لله على نعمة الهداية. والحمد لله على نعمة الولاية. والحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. والحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب والأئمة عليهم السلام. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما وليكم الله والرسول والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. I start by sending my warmest greetings and salams to everyone. Assalamu alaikum. 11 or so years ago, I completed high school and entered my first year at university. Usually in the first week or two of university, we find that there's orientation week or O week. And finding the Muslim group, I found the Muslim stall, and I found that there was a barbecue held for the Muslims. So I went with the Muslims. I went to the stall. They had a barbecue. We had soccer. It was a lot of fun. This was in 2004, I believe, my first year of university. A brother approached me, beautiful brother. He came up to me, and he was the president of the MSA of the time, Muslim Students Association. He came up to me and said, "Assalamu alaikum, brother." I said, "Wa alaikum assalam." He said, "You must be new at this university." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Muhammad," because my full name is Muhammad Hameed Attai. I said, "My name is Muhammad." He goes, "I've seen you praying at the mosque. You're Shia, right?" I said, "Yes, I am. I follow the path of Ahlul Bayt." He said, "And your name is Muhammad?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "I thought all Shias are called Hassan or Hussein." I said, "No, that's not quite correct. As you know, Muhammad is the most popular name in the world, and that's not exclusive to our Sunni brothers, Sunnis and Shias. Most common name is Muhammad and Ali." So then he was surprised. He goes, "Oh wow, I thought all Shias are called Hassan or Hussein." I'm not sure if he was joking or not. I'm pretty sure he wasn't. And he was a very knowledgeable brother. And he was the president, as I said, of the MSA. Yet look at how little he knew about the Shia. And then he said to me, "Brother," salam. He said to me, "Brother Muhammad." I said, "Yes." He said, "You're not wearing black." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm wearing," I think at the time I was wearing blue or green or whatever the case was. I said, "Why?" He said, "I thought all Shias wear black." I said, "No, Shias are not restricted to any color. If anything, the most loved color for the Prophet was white, and he always used to wear white." So again, he was quite surprised. And again, I remind you, this was the president of the MSA, who was very knowledgeable otherwise. Yet he knew so little about the Shia. And so this is obviously, one might raise an eyebrow, that in the world of 1.5 billion Muslims, out of 4 people in the world, 4 or so people, 1 of them are Muslim. That's a lot of Muslims. Out of 4 Muslims, 1 of them are Shia. Yet look how little people know about the Shia faith. You press Google, you write Shia, either you get the face of Shia LaBeouf, the guy from Transformers, that's right, Transformer, or you get a lot of blood in Google Images. So it's not restricted to our common brothers. You find that there's scholars, Muslim scholars that are well known, well regarded, that don't, dare I say, don't know much about the Shia faith and the Shia practices. And tonight I will introduce very briefly what the Shia practice is, who are the Shia, what is the Shia sect, as they say. So we find, I remember another 10 or so years ago, I went to a lecturer, his name was Khalid Yasin, very powerful lecturer, very good lecturer too. And on account of him, one of my friends was motivated to embracing Islam. So in one of his lectures I went, in Rudy Hill Mosque, and he equated Shias to kuffar. And then I had a talk with him afterwards. I was pretty young, as I said, 10 or so years ago, and I had a debate. I don't remember how I did. I thought I did well back then. And then you find Khalid Yasin, a very popular name in the Muslim world. And he equated us to kuffar. We find another name, Dr. Zakir Naik. How many people know of him? How many people know of the name Ahmed Didat? So he was a great scholar, Ahmed Didat. He was a pioneer in Muslim-Christian relations or debates. And Ahmed Didat said, my best student is Zakir Naik. Rather, he said, he's even better than me. He outclassed me. So Zakir Naik, and I've been to his lecture here in Sydney as well, a brilliant, brilliant scholar who's turned so many people into Islam. Yet look at what he says about the Shia. You just type Zakir Naik and write Shia in Google, in YouTube, sorry, and you get a few different clips. So there's one clip that a Hindu brother, he asks Dr. Zakir Naik, what's the difference between Sunni and Shia? He first off starts off by saying, confidently, the word Shia is not mentioned in the Quran. A person with such a brilliant mind, such a great memory, he will quote verses like this, not only of the Quran, of the Bible, of the Hindus' books, Bhagavad Gita, of so many books of religion. Yet he says the word Shia is not mentioned in the Quran. Not to say that that is an argument to credit the faith of the Shia, but he said that. First of all, that's no argument to discredit Shia. And if that was an argument, the word Sunni is also not found in the Quran. Secondly, the word is mentioned in the Quran several times. For example, and I have the verse here, Surah 28, verse 15. وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ. And surely Abraham was among the Shia of him, referring to Nuh alayhi salam. Surely Ibrahim was a Shia of Nuh. And so he continues to say that creating sects is haram. And that's why I titled tonight's talk, The Shia Sect. Without a doubt, creating sects in the Quran is haram. Without a doubt, you ask Shia scholars, that is the Shiism, is that a sect? They'll say, no, the Sunnis are a sect. You ask the Sunni scholars, is Shiaism a sect? They say no, the Shias are a sect. So they both claim to be the original Islam. So we too say, yes, creating sects is not in Islam. If anything, we need to refer back to the Quran, which says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold fast to the rope of Allah all together. Sunni, Shia, Sufi, Salafi, Maliki, Hanbali, Diobandi, whatever the case might be. All of us, we need to hold fast to the rope of Allah like the Prophet wanted us to be, like Imam Ali wanted us to do. So anyway, moving along, scholars as great as Dr. Zakir Naik, unfortunately there is so much misinformation. Scholars, some of you might know or have heard of the scholar Dr. Yasir Qadi. Again, brilliant mind, brilliant oratory skills, brilliant speeches about different aspects of religion. Before he was a bit more hardcore, he's toned down a bit, but again, you type Yasir Qadi, Shia, 10-minute clip, cursing the Shia, saying they are kuffar outright, saying that the Shias, whatever they say, they're lying. You will never know what they're saying, what their true beliefs are. He says lying is 9/10 of their religion, 9/10 of the Shia faith. So he is making such a bold accusation that even Shias themselves have never heard of this. Yet so boldly a scholar of religion says such a thing. That no matter what, we'll never show and reveal our true faces. We're always in taqiyya. When our posters are all over Facebook, everyone is welcome to join. It's no secret gathering. You know, whether it's Sunni lectures, Shia lectures, whatever the case may be, it's publicly announced. There's no secrecy. Yet there's this promotion that, for example, there's lying. 9/10. What a bold statement that we don't even say such a thing to the most ardent of liars, for example. We don't say that to people that are atheists. We don't say that to people that are non-Muslims, let alone you say that to our own fellow brothers and sisters. As I said, he's someone who's toned down a bit, yet still. You have another great scholar, Sheikh Imran Hussain, wonderful scholar. I truly enjoy his talks. Beautiful lectures on the Mahdi, beautiful lectures on the Day of Judgment, signs of the Akhirah. And he says, without a doubt, I respect the Shias. Without a doubt, they're our brothers, they're Muslims. If there were anything else, Mecca, Masjid al-Haram wouldn't allow them to enter, because Mecca is only allowed by Muslims. And there hasn't been ever any case where Shias are not allowed. Except possibly there might be an instance or two, but until today, year in, year out, they're allowed to enter Mecca. Yet he says that they are misguided because of certain beliefs. So even great scholars like him. So anyways, moving along. Just the fact that the discussion of Shia is whether they are kafirs or not, it's honestly, it's ridiculous. It's pathetic. Imagine we have a conference and people are asking us, Sunnis kafir or Muslims? How ridiculous does that sound? Of course, any single person who professes to La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah according to Islam at face value is a Muslim. We have famous traditions that there was a battle taking place, that the Muslims, they would be in battle, engaged in warfare, and then the opposing kuffar, the disbelievers, whatever you want to call them, hypocrites, they're in battle with the Muslims. And at one point, one of the Muslim soldiers overcomes the enemy is subdued. The enemy says, okay, La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. If anyone is at such a position, they're scared of their life, they might profess to any faith, let alone Islam, atheism, Hinduism, whatever the case may be. So he said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. This companion killed him, because obviously he thought he's lying. He returned. The Prophet said, what did you do? The companion narrated the story. The Prophet was angry, his vein popped. He was angry. He said, how dare you do that? He said, La ilaha illallah. Of course he was lying. The Prophet replied, did you cut open his heart and see what was inside it? So as Muslims, it's common knowledge, at face value, whoever says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, they're Muslim. So as I said, just the mere fact that the discussion of great names in the Muslim world, that they're discussing whether they're rightly guided, they're Muslims or kuffar, it's sad, really. It's sad. It's comparable to people who say things like Islam is a religion of terrorism. Islam is a religion that advocates pedophilia. Islam is a religion that advocates violence or domestic violence. It's that ignorant, such statements. But anyways, what is the Shia sect? First of all, people who profess to the path of Ahlul Bayt, clearly they say that they are Muslim. They don't say it's a sect. And the Quran is clear, we don't make sects. But just as a mere way of identification, we've been termed Shia. And furthermore, Shia means follower. So at the time of the Prophet, the followers of Imam Ali were called the Shia of Ali. The follower of Nuh, in the Quran it says the Shia of Nuh. Ibrahim was a Shia of Nuh. The followers of Muawiyah was a Shia of Muawiyah. It just means follower. But we also have a hadith, for example, that says clearly, the Messenger of Allah said to Imam Ali, glad tidings, O Ali, verily you and your companions and your Shia, your followers, will be in paradise. Regardless, who is a real Shia? It's not the one that just says, I am Shia. There's another discussion. Who is a real Shia? Shias are actually people, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq said, that actually adhere to the religion. So in reality, a true Shia, doesn't matter if you, as a label, are a Shia or a Sunni or whatever, in the eyes of Allah, in the eyes of the Prophet, in the eyes of Imam Ali, you might be a true Shia. We see in the Battle of Karbala, there was a person who was Christian, who was a Shia. In any case, what is the Shia faith, sect? Again, I don't like to use that terminology, but just for the sake of the discussion. Basically, it boils down to two main differences. Nothing else. Everything else is peripheral. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is detail. The two, some say it's one, because they're very closely linked, is the issue of successorship. Khilafat, imamat, whatever you want to call it. So simply, the argument is, our brothers from Ahlul Sunnah, they say the Prophet didn't leave a successor. The argument of our Shia brothers, ourselves, is that he did leave a successor. The argument of our Sunni brothers is that he didn't leave a successor, but he hinted at particular companions such as the first caliph. The argument of the Shias is he did leave a successor. It wasn't even chosen by him, it was chosen by Allah, because even the Prophet, with his greatness, his authority, is not able to choose a successor. Just like in the Quran it is said, when Prophet Musa wanted to have a successor, he asked Allah whether Harun could be that person. So the main thing that distinguishes Shia and Sunni is successorship. Everything else is peripheral and secondary. At this point of time, I would like to remind anyone, and I have been getting messages, that very soon, in about 5 or so minutes, we'll just briefly address some questions. And the telephone number for anyone who would like it, it's on the poster online and the Facebook page, but also it's 0410-298-618. 0410-298-618. So the argument is successorship. Now our brothers say that the Prophet didn't leave a successor. So the Shia reply, if the Prophet didn't leave a successor, why did the Ummah? If the Prophet didn't have that foresight, why did the people realize that it's of utmost importance, guardianship and leadership? So if the Prophet didn't leave a successor, the fact that the Ummah chose a successor is in fact bid'ah. That's one thing in regards to successorship. Secondly, the argument is that it was indicated that the Prophet indicated the first caliph, namely Khalifa Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa, as the first caliph, because, for example, he was the eldest, one of the closest companions. He traveled with the Prophet, did the hijrah, or, for example, he led the prayers. And they say this was subtle indications that he should be the leader after. So again, the rebuttal is, firstly, if the Prophet didn't leave a successor, why did the Ummah? Is that not bid'ah, an addition? And we hear quite often in lectures that kullu bid'atun dhalala wa kullu dhalalatin finnar, that every innovation is deviant and every deviance is hellbound or whatever. That's number one. Secondly, there are indications that suggest it. Well, firstly, if the Prophet didn't suggest, then we shouldn't. Secondly, if there are indications, according to what is that a criteria, the Shia say, for successorship or leadership? Or there are other companions who led battles. There are other companions, for example, that when the Prophet went to Medina, the Ansar and the Muhajir each were to choose one and have as brothers, yet the Prophet chose, for example, Imam Ali. Whatever the case might be, who's to decide what is an indication or a criteria for caliphate? We don't know, because we don't have it from the Prophet. But what do the people from the school of Ahlul Bayt say? Clearly, that the Prophet clearly indicated that that the caliph after him was Imam Ali several times. For example, when the Prophet delivered his message, the first delivery was made to his close family. And at that table, that dinner, he clearly said to Imam Ali, Anta akhi wa wasi wa khalifati. You are my brother, my guardian, my successor. We see the story of, for example, we're just touching on it in the story of Ghadir, that after the Hajj, soon before the Prophet died, a Quranic verse came that Surah 5 verse 67, if I'm not mistaken, يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت رسالة. O Prophet, deliver what has sent to you, what has been sent to you, and if you don't, it is as though you have not even sent your message. Then the event of Ghadir took place. The Prophet, in a nutshell, in front of a hadith or a history, says that there was 100 or so thousand Muslims. They stopped everyone, and the Prophet delivered a khutbah and said, for example, do you not know that I have more right over you than you have over yourselves? And he used the word Mawla and Wali. And everyone said, yes, of course, Ya Rasulullah. And then Prophet Muhammad continued to say, then I bear witness that in kuntum mawla fahada aliyun mawla, or in kuntum mawla fa aliyun mawla. So then I declare that whoever I am the master, a wali of, then this Ali is also the wali. So we have more direct evidence to suggest successorship. In the beginning I read out a verse of the Quran, إنما وليكم الله والرسول والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Indeed, your guardian is Allah and the Prophet and those who believe and who establish prayer and pay zakah while in the state of ruku', while in the state of genuflection. And in history it's narrated that the only person